Hi, I'm Jack of Back Jack, and I use he/him pronouns. One word that defines what I stand for is access. Access to those not yet here, but crucially to those who already are. Mental health issues do not just happen at Oxford, they're a part of it, an institutionalised aspect of our university. Rustication, fifth week blues, these phrases have become as Oxford as matriculation or even Park End. Unfortunately, many of the campaigns around these issues are reactive. They do not address the reasons why people need help in the first place. You don't treat a hemorrhage with a plaster, you have to tackle the source. People are stressed because they're overworked. We're forced to put quantity before quality, and I personally have had enough of the post-essay refrain, it's shit, but it'll do. We need to change the system, enforce standards for workloads, a termly reading week, college-based counselling provision, and let's stop the practice of setting our students up to fail with in-turn punitive collections. If you elect me, you'll be voting for clarity in what our peers do and parity in our experience, for fairness in standards and feasibility in workloads. So how do you know that these aren't empty promises that will leave a monorail-sized hole in your faith in OUSU? Well, I'm proven. Last year I was a JCR president, and before that I was the student union president of my 12,000 strong further education college. I know how to beat the classic university technique of delaying, how to force change now, not 5 years down the line. From your facilities and your mental health, to your education and your independence, I have, I can, I will represent you as the President of the whole Student Union. Thank you very much.
Good evening everyone, my name's Eden Tanner, and tonight I want to invite you to look at the big picture with me, of a student union that's effective, that has clear and achievable priorities, and that seeks to engage every student here at Oxford, no matter what it is they want to get out of their time here. I first got involved with OUSU in my first year as Graduate Women's Officer because I saw the immense potential for achieving university-wide change. Now, I'm a Common Room President, I've co-chaired an OUSU campaign, and I sit on the trustee board. And what this means is that I have the skills and experience necessary to hit the ground running and to deliver on my promises. I want to construct a welfare vision with short, medium and long-term priorities to make sure that nobody falls through the gaps during their time at Oxford and that we're working consistently towards our goals. I want to connect students with complementary needs across Oxford using technology and my experience with app development and project management. For example, sports captains with new players, volunteering startups looking for fresh new faces, any student that wants to connect regardless of college or department. I want to construct and deliver training sessions for Common Room committee members, not just presidents, clubs and societies and campaigns, to equip the people in these roles to get the most out of their time. And last but definitely not least, I will be a strong and effective advocate for you to the university and on the national stage. OUSU is your only seat at the table. Whether it's academic matters or welfare matters, OUSU is it. Who do you want to be sitting there representing you?
So currently, your access to education at Oxford can be hugely impacted by your identity, your circumstances and your background. I want to work for a more inclusive Oxford University where no matter who you are, wherever you're coming from, you have the support you need to make an application. That application is judged fairly, so you're given the confidence you need to accept an offer and the support you need at university to thrive and get the best degree possible. That means tackling issues directly, like the increasing gender and race gaps at finals. It also means looking at the fact that if you're a white applicant, you're more than twice as likely as a BME applicant to get an offer from this university. It means looking at things that affect the student body more widely, like workload and welfare, things that are currently not very joined up in how we deal with them. In my role as Humanities Divisional Board Rep, I did a survey that showed that over half of students feel like their workload has a negative impact on their health. Oxford should be academically challenging, but it shouldn't make you ill, and I want to work across the university to introduce realistic, subject-specific workload targets and limits for all students. I also want to work for the academic rights of students who the university are letting down in particular. Most suspended status students at the moment don't even have the right to use their college library. This isn't acceptable. Overall, I really believe that I have the skills and experience to take on this role. I'm from a state comprehensive school myself, and I know what it feels like not to have the confidence or support to make an application, and I've done access work throughout my whole time at university. I also know how to implement change through high-level structures through my work on the division. On Friday, the university and the government released a green paper with proposals for higher education, which have frankly terrifying implications for access. We need a strong and informed voice more than ever before to fight for this at our university.
Hi, my name's Duncan. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm running for the position of VP Access and Academic Affairs. I spent the last term as the undergraduate representative for humanities students at the university and the last year as the JCR president at Balliol, and I've seen firsthand the effect the current setup of Oxford University has on my friends and on their mental health especially, and I'm running on Back Jack to try and change that. My manifesto says a lot about what I want to do if I get elected. Things like challenging interviewers' unconscious bias during the interview process, helping students from low participation backgrounds not just apply to university, but successfully apply and thrive once they arrive. I want to create clear guidelines for students' workloads, make it easier for them to get work or get funding, and to critically examine the way colleges and departments do their outreach and their access work. If you have any questions on any of that, please ask away. I'm going to take this chance to talk about 3 other things. Firstly, as a slate, we want to give students a chance to breathe. This means reading weeks. This means a discussion of the length of terms and not just accepting what the university currently does as read, and making sure that students aren't taking a secondary for the university's other interests. Secondly, I want to give student campaigns more of a voice on access and academic affairs. The university is failing the students that these campaigns represent, and they need more of a platform in a discussion and a voice in the process. Lastly, I want to use information more intelligently to drive change. If we can give applicants and students more information about the inconsistencies across the university, we can force real change and make Oxford better for all students. These are things that improve students' access to education and the quality of that education once they arrive, and I think I'm the person to push for them, so please vote for me.
So hi everyone, my name is Beth, I use pronouns she and her, and I would love to be your Vice President for Charities and Communities next year. Sorry. I'm currently the JCR President of Corpus Christi JCR, and I'm an active member of the Wage Campaign. And given these 2 roles and how they come together, I've kind of been able to see, as I'm sure a lot of us are aware, there's a really large town and gown divide in the city, and I don't think we as students are doing enough to address it. In fact, the existence of the university here in many ways would be actively detrimental to the local community, and the onus should be on us to do more to change that. So there are 3 main ways in which I kind of want to address this. The first way is to invest more student time and energy into the widening participation scheme. I want to run fun days and sports days for primary school children in the local area in which Oxford, university students would volunteer to spend their time. It's not about accessing like a specific way of like getting them to talk about university, but just about getting them into these spaces and making them aware that they're welcome in these spaces here that fill up the town centre. Another thing that I'm really keen to do is to widen out the success that we've had with the Living Wage campaign in OUSU to the local area by working with the local trade union council to make sure that we're campaigning with local businesses as well as just the university colleges, simultaneously obviously to drive to make sure that we're not like sort of hypocritically looking after the staff who look after us, but we're looking after all the people who are affected by the fact that we're here. Another thing that I'm really keen to do, is to set up a rewards card scheme called Independent Oxford, whereby, because we live in a city with such an amazing, vibrant, independent sector, we coordinate those efforts better to make sure that students and local community members are patronising loads of the amazing community members that are set here. So I don't know if any of you heard of the independent Liverpool sector, but I'm really good friends with people who run them. They're happy to help me set that up here as well, to make sure that all of us are benefiting from the amazing work that's set up here. I'd also like to work a lot on kind of make sure that we're the most sustainable students that we can be by setting up a minimum standard charter to run a lot to the JCRs and working with Fairly on the new sustainable students, like freshest batch could ever produce. So vote for me.
Hello everyone, my name is Marina, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm running to be your Vice President Graduates with Eden Tanner on the big picture. So to give you a bit of a background about my experience, I've done a lot within my college. I was MCR President, I've been a welfare officer, a women's officer, peer supporter for 7 years, and this last year I've been the Graduate Academic Affairs Officer at OUSU. And what that involved was essentially in my first week the Vice President for Graduates resigned. So I spent most of the Hillary term filling in and representing grads on all the top level university committees. So in many ways I've already done this job. So basically I'm asking you to vote for me and let me be paid to do this job for a year. To give you an idea of some of the things that I'd like to address, obviously the biggest things that affect graduates are funding and accommodation. I've already done a bit on accommodation. We did a lot of campaigning on Castle Mill and we managed to save Castle Mill, yay. But I've done rents and charges negotiations as MCR President, so I've got a lot of experience with kind of negotiating with other bodies in terms of funding. Another big area I want to focus on is welfare, because my background is very much in welfare. So I work with Eden on a welfare vision and definitely try and tackle more graduate-specific issues which don't get tackled and which I feel most of the other candidates don't address. Teaching and supervision is also super important, so I'd like to address the quality of teaching in a master's course, which I've been through one, and trust me, it was rubbish. But as also the sort of level of training you get as a DPhil student and how how teaching is allocated for DPhil students, because it's really not standardised, and so I would work with the divisional programs to do that. Okay, and I'll wrap it up there. But yeah, please vote for me, and hopefully ask me questions. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Sandy. I'm currently at Corpus Christi and I'm running with the Backjack team because we think there's a mental health crisis in Oxford, and we hope you will agree we want to tackle it. I've got 4 main policies that I really want to think about. The first is to do with peer support. I got involved in peer support in my first term. I love it. I'm the biggest peer support fangirl on earth. I think it's undervalued. I think it's underused. I'd like to expand it. Eden mentioned that there are peer supporters in some MCRs. They aren't in all, and they aren't, like, people don't volunteer to get into them in all. So private halls, MCRs, and also liberation campaigns. I've just founded Rainbow Peers, which is an intercollegiate LGBTQ peer support network. I want to look into whether a BME one of those and a disability one is viable. 2 groups which I want to work with, which I think are isolated from welfare at Oxford, are suspended students and students on their year abroad. I think these are students who have a lot of support in Oxford when they're here, and then all of a sudden they're not in Oxford, and everything goes to pot. I'd like to signpost stuff which is already existing, but I'd also like to create more networks, more mentorship guides, and guides for students on the year abroad about the areas they're moving to and what to expect. I want to enable the liberation groups. I want to do a survey of all students at self-registration so that we can go to the university with cold, hard, tangible data and say, here's what the students need, here's what you're failing on, here's how we can help it. I also want to do an eye calendar so that there are fewer liberation group clashes, a gender-neutral toilet map that's completely kind of full and comprehensive, and an accessible venue map. I want to tackle night safety. I want to link the security services with the Good Night Out campaign. I've got loads of experience doing this at various levels, college, society, also just working with like the different liberation groups. I'm really passionate. I'd love to do it now. I've got finals. I can't do it now. Please give me another year. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Jessy. I use they, them pronouns. I'm running for this role because I think we need to be having a wider conversation about what welfare and equal ops actually is and how we can improve the structural support on that. I've got 3 main manifesto things that I'd like to talk about tonight. Firstly is the way tutors need to be a good first point of call. Currently you get some great tutors and currently you get some crap tutors. When everyone has differing welfare needs, that's really hard to deal with. I want to create some guidelines which give tutors a broader idea of the kind of support they should be giving their students so that academic support and welfare support do go hand in hand. Secondly, I think the OUSU campaigns do an absolutely incredible job at supporting marginalised groups, but I think there's one missing. Class analysis in Oxford tends to fall down the gap between access and liberation. I want to set up an OUSU campaign focusing on class so that people who come in from different class backgrounds to the norm aren't facing the culture shock and isolation which happens at the moment. We need to be sharing these narratives in a way that First Gen Students campaign has already started doing. Thirdly, I believe that no individual should be having to fight their own battles, and that's currently happening for transgender students at the uni who are having to push for common room precedents for their colleges to adopt trans policy. This is both distressing and inadequate. I know I've done it. I want to create a common framework for supporting transgender students so that if colleges are being crap, transgender students can hit them over the head with it. In terms of experience, I've been JCR president at GEES for the past year. I've done a lot of work within the politics faculty. I know how important it is to get faculties on side with welfare and equal opportunities policies, particularly for graduate students. At the end of the day, everyone has individual needs regardless of their identity, and the university needs to validate all of those needs. I've got more things to say about this, facebook.com/JPH for WEO, or on Twitter @JessyJPH. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenny. My pronouns are she, her, or they, them. So when it comes to welfare, I think our university is currently letting down many of its students. From those who are trying to navigate an inaccessible and complicated suspension policy, to disabled students who don't feel their college is giving them the reasonable adjustments they need to study. So I want to work for more clarity about welfare procedures, making sure existing services are signposted better and pushing for transparency from colleges and the university. One way we can do this is by creating a Freshers' Welfare Guide to Oxford, as well as helping colleges create their own mind map style guides to their own support systems. I also want to work to make welfare support more reliable across colleges, with the ultimate aim being welfare training for tutors, including basic 101s on race, disability and trans issues. We can also push for reliability by making sure colleges follow up on their commitments to the Common Framework for Disability, the harassment and trans policies which have been rolled out, and the upcoming Race Equality Charter Mark, as well as by creating a feedback procedure which doesn't currently exist for the Disability Advisory Service. I also want to act as a central resource for the liberation campaigns, collating information and doing as much of the boring groundwork as I can so that they can lead the way, as well as bringing them all together to collaborate on intersectional projects. I believe that the liberation group should not be tacked onto other issues, but should be a part of every policy and every project that we do at OUSU. So I've been OUSU LGBTQ officer for almost a year. I've got experience of representing students to council, exec and the university, as well as of supporting reps at a college level. I'm a trained peer supporter and I've worked with various of the liberation campaigns, as well as recently bringing them all together to collaborate on some intersectional projects. Thank you for listening. I'm running with Welfare, spelled F-A-I-R. Check us out on Facebook. We've got some great part-time reps who will be speaking soon. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Orla, my pronouns are she, her, or they, them, and I'm running for VP Women on the OUSU slate. 68% of women students report experiencing harassment in or around their institution. To combat that in Oxford, I want to continue to push for colleges to adopt the university's new harassment policy, and also ensure that there's a really high level of awareness and confidence among students in that policy, so that people know what harassment is and what they can do about it. I'll also work on consent workshops. That means continuing to deliver training and ensuring they take place in common rooms, increasing the number of MCRs which run them, and also refining their content to make sure we're talking about these issues in a safe, constructive and inclusive environment. I'll also make sure that, for example, race workshops aren't overlooked in favour of consent workshops, so that no hierarchy of liberation is allowed to emerge. Because I think our student union should reflect the students it represents, I want to open a consultation on how exactly we vote for women's positions in OUSU, so that trans women, trans feminine people, and people with complex relationships to the category of woman can cast the votes they're entitled to without outing themselves. We need to make sure our university is listening to women of colour. We have stats on race and gender gaps at finals, but very little data on what happens to people who are caught between these two categories. That's just like a basic first step in getting change. So there's a whole lot more, but I'm on a time limit, so please do check out my manifesto on Facebook at facebook.com/iou.ausu, where you can also see more information on the amazing people I'm running with. So Eden for access and academic affairs, and also our PTE candidates for access and admissions, BME officer and disabled students officer, 2 of which will be talking later tonight. They're great. They're a really important part of our team, and we think it's really, really important to link up and find the best possible representation. Thank you.